friends, and welcome to another video. My name is Julie if you're new here, and today I'm going to tell you about all of the books that I read in January. In the last month I read 12 books, which is, I believe, the highest number of books that I have ever read in a month. That's great! I didn't even intend to do that. That's a bit weird because it didn't feel like I was reading that much. Which also might be because I listen to mostly audiobooks and that always feels a bit quicker and I don't have to sit down, I can do other things while I'm listening. But I guess that means I'm just in a good reading flow, which is great. And I also think having this channel kind of gave me like a motivation and a direction which I want to go in with my reading. And that definitely made me read more. But without further ado, let's start with the 12 books that I read this month. The first book that I read this month, the first book that I finished in 2023 was The Friend Zone by Cristianhayne. This book is about Ivy and Gray, and they basically meet over texting. And they become pretty good friends, just over texting. Ivy is abroad, and when she comes back, these two actually meet. And Ivy actually is the daughter of a football agent, and her father wants to sign Gray because Gray is a pretty good football player. And Ivy is also supposed to go back to England after she graduates and after she has spent some more time in the US. But she's supposed to take over her mom's bakery in England. That's why these two can't be together and why they are stuck in the friend zone. I personally hate the word friend zone. I don't think it really exists, but okay, that's something I can overlook for the sake of a story. But apart from that, I thought this was an okay read. I had fun with it, but it definitely wasn't anything that I personally think I will remember a lot or that I consider rereading. And that's also why I gave this book 3 stars. The next book that I read is Trick Play by Finley, and it's also about football, or a football player in this case. And this football player is Matt. Before the story even starts, Matt is photographed at a gay bar and he isn't outed, so that of course leads the press to jump onto him and want to drag him down for whatever he's done there with this guy. And that's why his agent thinks it's a good idea to get him a fake boyfriend to clean up his image, so he can get signed again because he's lost his contract or his contract hasn't been renewed. No team really wants to sign him because of this scandal. And that's why his agent introduces him to Noah. I think they've seen each other before, but they don't really know each other well. And when they meet, they can't really stand each other. Matt is really in a grumpy mood. He has all this trouble going on with his career and he's not having it. Noah has his own reasons for wanting this fake relationship, but I'm not going to go into detail there. But yeah, that they can't stand each other of course makes things a little more complicated, especially because they have to spend time together as a fake couple. This book was a very enjoyable read and I gave it 4 stars. I think it's even better, than the first one. This is part of, I think, a series of books by Finley. The first one was Fake Out and this one I enjoyed even more. Another great book that I finished in January is Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second part of the King of Scars duology by Leigh Bardugo and it's part of the Grishaverse, which I think we have all heard of by now. If you haven't, it's a fantasy series, go check it out, it's really good. And I read this book in a reading blog, and if you haven't seen that one, I will link it for you somewhere up here. I think this one is my favorite book out of all the books in the Grishaverse, or at least it's sharing the first place with Six of Crows, which was also very good. I gave 5 stars to this book. Obviously, it was my first 5-star read of the year. And another book that I read in the same blog is Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. So you can find my thoughts on this book in this blog, but I'm going to tell you real quick what it is about. It is about Luke and Oliver. Luke is the son of a famous musician and therefore he himself also is a little bit famous, kind of famous. And he ends up in the tabloids quite often with not so nice headlines. When his boss learns about this and some clients threaten to leave the company he works for, he knows he has to do something about it. And what could be better to do than find a fake boyfriend to clear up his image? We've heard this one before. Apparently that's a common thing to do. So his friends decide to set him up with Oliver. The reason they choose Oliver is because that's the only other gay guy they know, and it shows because these two really have nothing in common. And therefore it gets quite awkward from there. I gave this book 3 stars because it was an interesting story, but in my opinion it was just a little bit too long. Another book that I apparently read this month is Cocky Roommate by Claire Kingsley, and to be honest, I don't remember that much about this book. It is a book about Kendra and Weston, and Kendra needs a roommate to pay her rent, and therefore her brother finds someone for her. She actually thinks that's going to be a girl, but no, it's a guy, and that guy is Weston. Weston really isn't that nice of a guy. He really treats her like shit in the beginning, so that's fun, I guess. But they have to spend some time together as roommates, obviously, and therefore they get to know each other better. I gave this one 3 stars as well, because there were some very cute scenes with taking care of each other and stuff like that. But again, it wasn't that memorable, and I already knew that when I was reading it, so yeah. The next book that I read this month is The Enemy by Sarah Adams. This book I read for a video on the enemies to lovers trope, and that video is coming out next Wednesday, so stay tuned for that video. This book is about Ryan and June, and they come from the same town, they grew up together, and they also try to annoy each other as much as possible when they were in high school. Now they haven't seen each other for 12 years, and when they come back to their hometown for a wedding, they meet again and they still hate each other. Or do they? This book was a 4-star read for me. I actually liked it a lot because it had a surprisingly good plot, which I didn't expect. So yeah, if you'd like to know more about this book, watch my next video. And another book that's going to be in that video is Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. And that it was in the Enemies to Lovers video already tells you a lot about it. The blurb of the book really says it best. It says, Dating Dr. Dill features a love-phobic TV doctor who must convince a love-obsessed homebody that they are destined to be together. So yeah, that's what the book is about. It also features a lot of Indian culture and family topics. I actually really like this. I gave this 4 stars, but on Goodreads it's very controversial for some reason. Apparently a lot of people don't like it, a lot of people like it. So I guess you have to find out for yourself. Next up is the Brown Sister series by Talia Hibbert. I'm not going to talk about these in detail because I just posted a reading vlog on me reading these books. But I did read Get a Life Chloe Brown, Take a Hint Dani Brown, and Act Your Age Eve Brown. So I finished the whole series in this vlog. I read it over a week because I wanted to challenge myself a bit, and I think that really was a good idea because it was really satisfying to finish a whole series in a month and even in a little bit longer than a week and reading all these books one after the other. So I think that will be something that I will be doing more often in the future. The next book that I read after this series was My Brother's Forbidden Friend by Piper Rain. When I started reading this book, I did not realize that it is actually part 9 of a series. It did work well on its own though, I have to say. So you can read these as standalones as well. This book is about Cam and Chevelle, and they have known each other since they were kids. Obviously he's her brother's best friend, hence the title. And Chevelle has liked Cam for a long time now. Then a situation occurs where Cam is cut off by his parents and he actually has to move in with Chevelle. And to prove himself to his parents, he has to build a business, and that business is actually competing with Chevelle's. So these two also have kind of a rivalry moment going on, but more in a playful way. I initially gave this book 5 stars, but in hindsight I would say it's more of a 4-star read because I didn't remember that much of it. even though it was very enjoyable at the time. But I also do think this book would have been much better if I had read the other 8 parts of the series before that, because a lot of the people in the comments said that they had been anticipating this book for such a long time and they had already known the characters, so that always helps. But I don't know if I will be picking up the other 8 in this series. We'll see. The last book that I read this month was The Bombshell Effect by Carla Sorensen. This book follows the story of Luke and Alex. Luke is a football player, and Alex is the daughter of the team owner, who just passed away, and therefore she inherits the team, and now she's the owner. These two actually end up being neighbors as well, because she moves in the house next to his when she comes back to town. What I liked most about this book were the characters. Luke is a single dad and he takes very good care of his daughter, he cares a lot about her, and he also works very hard to make her life better. And then we have Alex, who is very strong, badass main character, and she works really hard to fight stereotypes because she's described as looking like Barbie by Luke's daughter. And of course, as a team owner, she then has to fight some stereotypes. I gave this book 5 stars. And because it is the first part of a series that is called Washington Wolves, I think I'm also going to pick up the next books in this series, because I really enjoyed this one and I hope that the other ones will be good as well. So these were the 12 books that I read this month, and it was a great reading month for me. I hope you had a good month as well, and let me know in the comments which book was your favorite of the month. See you in my next video! Bye!